Hello and welcome to episode 1403 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Thursday, April 17th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this afternoon by both Joe Orrico and Justin Mason. Gentlemen, good day.
Good to be back. Been a while. I've been off for the last couple of weeks, but I'm excited to talk some ball with you guys.
How was your vacation?
Oh, it was great, man. Vancouver, the only thing that wasn't great is how expensive Vancouver is. My God. I could not have spent more than 4 days there without needing to pick up some extra hours at work or something, because holy crap, man, it is really, like, Toronto is already so expensive, and then Vancouver, everything was like, I want to say like 20% more expensive on average. Like it was bad. For any of the Canadians out there, the gas price, we do it by liter as opposed to by gallon, but it was 50 cents more expensive per liter in Vancouver than in Toronto. And Toronto was already like really bad. So happy to get home, happy to get back in the swing of things.
Well, Justin and I can relate. We both live in expensive cities in San Francisco and Austin. Neither of us live in the city proper, but those are the cities that we live near. And so we're used to expensive city prices. Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing better now that my taxes are done.
I know it's been a week for you, but
yeah, it's been just a weird hell of a week. Like but
we're gonna get into some hitters and we're gonna turn your week around because we're gonna put you on a little bit of a pedestal here.
We should. We absolutely should.
You know,
my ego needs stroking.
It's only April 17th, but we got a 360 reverse dunk for you to get going on, and even as early as it is.
Let me stretch real quick for this victory lap I'm about to make.
As early as it is, this guy is so on fire. He even hit a home run again today already while we're recording, and has just shown so much, even in the underlying numbers, so fast. And you know how I feel about early victory laps. I think they're really stupid, and just asking to make yourself look like a dumbass down the road. But I think you need to do one here and really explain that you believe in this guy beyond the fast start. So let's get into some hitters. We've been doing a lot of pitcher episodes lately, and somebody even asked in my chat, you guys been doing a lot of pitcher episodes. Is that because hitters are harder to analyze? And I was like, yeah, actually, yes, because one start is a much bigger sample than, a couple games for a hitter. Right, it's like 4 or 5 games of sample. If you look at like batters faced versus plate appearances,
1/32 of the season, probably, right. And for some or for many, it's actually a lot higher.
Even more, right? Yeah, because they're going to make sub 30 starts. So that's part of why. And I just think that it's easier to analyze smaller changes in pitchers. But that said, we cannot ignore the hitters, and I did promise everyone a hitter episode. So we're going to dive in with some of the big surprise hot starts going, including some guys that you and Jason have talked about on some of the Sunday pods, but who have continued to deliver since then. So I want to see if you've amended anything or you want to double down on them, and also get Joe's thoughts, of course, because neither Joe nor I were on those episodes. But we're going to start with the big dog, Tyler MFN Soderstrom, not Soderstrom as I pronounced it back on January 17th when we discussed him on the part 3 of the first base preview, which I went back and listened to today because I wanted to see just how correct Justin Mason was when he was gassing this fool up. Soderstrom is electric right now. He is the best hitter going right now, just like from like a bang for your buck standpoint, maybe just even in an overall standpoint. Maybe Pete Alonso's a little bit better, but like he's in the conversation right now. Tyler Soderstrom hit his 9th home run today. He's been absolutely electric. And not only that, you can go underneath the hood. This isn't just a little fast start with some power. Things are changing. Things are better. Now, is he going to keep up like a 40% homer to fly ball? Not even his biggest proponent here, Justin Mason, thinks that. But he doesn't need to. So, Justin, talk to us. Take us through the whole thing. Your initial thoughts in the preseason and how things are going so far with the 9-home run Tyler Soderstrom and how much he's been dominating and how much you expect him to continue to dominate.
So I was really high on Tyler Soderstrom, and I'm almost bummed because I just didn't get him everywhere, right? I really should.
I'm cutting you off immediately. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
How? Because a guy like that is so eminently available to you.
Because I wasn't the guy who was like, oh, I'm not going to take a first baseman here that I like because I can get Soderstrom later. Like,
but
right?
You got
like
corner and util.
Yeah.
Now you did have an Ohtani league. I know that, so that blocked that off.
Well,
and there are some good corners.
And I have Schwarber almost everywhere. I didn't
Right,
have
right.
Otani,
So okay, so
like,
UT's
all of a
blocked
sudden,
off.
yeah, and I was a huge proponent of Isaac Paredes,
Yeah.
of Christian Walker, and so there were a lot of times I'd get to a point where it's like, hey, I can't put Soderstrom on this team.
Okay,
Unfortunately.
that's fair then.
So,
I'll relent the floor back to you. Talk to us about Soderstrom and his dominance.
that being said, coming to the season, and you, all three of us, just listened to the episode in which which we're referencing, the first base episode. I said, like, I think this guy can hit 40 home runs. If all things come together, and oh my God, are all things coming together right now? It's even better than I could have imagined, right? So far, like, we're not even going to talk about the power metrics right now. We're going to talk about is the contact and swing metrics. So far, 88% zone contact, 22.6% O swing, a swing to strike rate under 10%. This dude not only has just immense power that he is completely unlocking, he has shown the ability to hit the ball in the zone consistently. And that was my only fear. My only fear was like, hey, are we going to see the 84% zone contact we saw last year kind of go down? Because if that happens, then, hey, yeah, he could strike out at a 30 to 40% clip. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing him make more contact. We're seeing him just do everything he needs to do, including walking over 10% of the time. You have to love this with Soderstrom. Now, I mean, is it going to continue at this rate? No, like he's on an obscene rate. He's not hitting 60 home runs. But like we're on April 17th. He has 9. Like, you've pretty much already paid for your draft price. I got him in the 18th round of my main event. Like, he's already.
At least you got him in your main.
Paid off.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. You don't have him everywhere, but you have him in the main, the biggest entry league that you have. Did you get him in your auction?
I was telling you guys, like, literally right now, he has almost 40% of my main event's home runs. I have 23 home runs in the main event. He is literally carrying my offense right now. Like,
that is crazy. Now he was past pick 250, a 262 average in the main, so very affordable for Tyler Soderstrom. On that same episode, I was certainly not going to sit here and pretend I was 100% with you, but I liked him too. And you sold me on the batting average piece, because I even asked you. I said, isn't he going to hit my weight? The strikeout piece that you talked about with Soderstrom, I had some real concerns about. And you highlighted how he had shown some improvements even last year, because a 25% K rate for a guy with this kind of power, we can live with.
Yeah, it's fine.
That's okay. It's when you start getting 30 plus, which is what his initial sample was back in 2023. And that's what I was concerned about, maybe going back up. You said, no, it could actually come down. It has so far. It's down at 18% strikeout rate. So again, it's early, but everything looks so good. He plays in a minor league ballpark. The power, like you said, that's the lock. That's the guaranteed thing. The fact that these under the hood metrics with the zone contact and the plate appearance, the plate approach are going so well, that is just making it such a bankable start here. And by bankable, we mean that he'll be a plus player, not that he's going to keep up a 220 WRC plus or hit 60 homers, et cetera, but that he's going to be somebody you want to keep all year. Joe, where were you coming into the season on Soderstrom? Was he somebody that you liked at all? Did you get him anywhere, et cetera?
I have him on 1 out of 21 teams, so I did like him, but I can't go out there and say that I liked him as much as either of you guys. There was a video I did for Fantasy Pros where I was going through first baseman, and I think I highlighted him as a late target. I'm going to try and find that clip somewhere so I look smart. But the interesting thing for me with Soderstrom so far is he hit his 9th home run today. And I think a lot of people who maybe aren't paying as close attention are going to say, well, they're playing in the minor league ballpark, and that's what's doing it. And granted, it is so far, if you're sorting by just 2025 park factors, it's the 3rd best in Major League Baseball. But the home run factor is 101, and he's hit 7 of his 9 homers on the road. Tyler Soderstrom, his home and away splits are fascinating, because at home he's batting .156 with 2 homers coming into today. On the road, he's batting .472 with 6 homers. So we can't even say he's a minor league park merchant or anything. Right. He's just looking fantastic. Everything looks improved across the board. The strikeouts, I don't know where they're going to end up. I don't know that I would say that they're probably likely to be in the 18%, but even if we're in the low 20s, we'll take that every day, because I came into the year thinking, 27, 26% maybe, right. But 18% strikeout rate, the swing strike rate down 4 points. There's nothing not to love at this point with Tyler Soderstrom.
No, it's absolutely amazing. And again, Justin, great call. It is early. And I'm not usually one to go with the early victory lap, but things are looking so good here, and you were so on it. This was such a big call of yours that it's going to be hard to see it just fall apart, because there is so much to like here that, seeing Soderstrom as somebody who could end up with like a 130 OPS plus by the end of the season, approaching a possibly 40 home runs, I think that's very much on the table right now. So I'm happy to facilitate an early victory lap here, and we'll stay.
Right.
We'll keep tabs on him all year. Last word.
Great episode, guys. Oh, is that not it?
That is not it. It is not it. We're going to get into this next guy here, and he's also having a big day today. I want to say he went 2 for 5 in the game that just ended, and our boy Jason Collette is a big fan, and I'm not there. Maybe one of y'all can sell me if you like him as much as Jason. He is playing well, though, so maybe I need to adjust. But Dylan Moore was not somebody I saw coming into the year as somebody I wanted. He can't hit righties to save his life generally. And so I was like, a short side platoon guy whose home park sucks on a team that, they're okay, but the only reason they're okay is they're pitching. And it's happening that way again, by the way. I want to point out he has a 1553 OPS against lefties and a 558 against righties. So it's more of the same. Who pitched today for Cincinnati? Was it a lefty or righty? I can't remember who started.
Brady Singer. I think it was Brady Singer.
Okay, so a righty started, and I don't know if he got his 2 hits off. It went to extras too, so it could have been hits off of lefties coming out of the bullpen or something. But another 2 for 4 day, or 2 for 5 day, and a steal, his 4th. And you guys talked about him on the 4-6 pod, April 6th pod. He's hitting 300 with 2 homers and 3 steals since then. So that's why we're bringing him back up. I'm going to start with you, Joe, because Justin talked about him on that pod. Is Dylan Moore someone you're buying in on? Again, he's absolutely tearing the cover off the ball, but it is that same short side platoon that gives me a little bit of pause. 4 steals on the season combined, and I think 3 homers total as well, or 4 homers. So 4 and 4 so far. Is there something to get into here with Dylan Moore?
I'm going to lean towards no. It's funny. Like the first episode I was on this show as a co-host, Justin and I were going through like late category targets. And I said Dylan Moore was a decent steals guy later in your draft, but he's going to hurt the batting average. He's not going to give you a lot of power. There's nothing that's really that different if you're looking at barrel and hard hit rates. He's a 10% barrel rate for his career, 37 hard hit. Those are at 12.9 and 41% so far. It's a little bit better, but it's nothing crazy. I would be more inclined to say this is just kind of a hot streak. If you're throwing a bunch of fab after Dylan Moore, I think it's a bad idea.
That's just where I keep coming back to. And if I'd seen, even in a small sample, if his numbers versus righties had boosted or something, I might be more interested. But I think he's just running hot. I got to imagine that they've been running into a bunch of lefties. Justin, I don't remember all the way back to 4-6 what you guys said about him. Where were you at on Dylan Moore? Was Jason trying to bring you along for the ride? Did you listen? And do you believe now, 2 weeks later with more good production on the board for Dylan Moore?
No, I mean, I think I'm right in line with you guys. Jason, obviously likes him for his quadruple eligibility and,
right.
And for the deeper leagues, right? Like Jason plays and has Dylan Moore in AL only leagues where Dylan Moore makes a lot of sense there. But I mean, I think if we're talking about like a 10 or a 12 team league, like, no, Dylan Moore, you can ride the hot streak for right now, but it's not going to end up well. And I will let you guys know that both his hits did come off of righties today.
Okay, so that's good. That'll improve the numbers there for sure for Dylan Moore. But yeah, I mean, he's cooking lefties. I'm not even sure.
I will say
15-teamer.
I will say this though, like I don't believe it, and this is one of the things where it's really difficult. Like we mentioned in the last episode, like this is just a really hard time of year to kind of create content that isn't just overreacting to really small samples.
Right.
The underlying numbers on Dylan Moore are better. I don't know how much I believe it. He has an 88% zone contact. He's a career 82% guy. He's only swinging outside the zone 22%. Swing strike rate is down at 9%. Like, okay, maybe this is something like, and I think the thing about it is Dylan Moore is going to play because Seattle doesn't have a lot of talent, especially in that infield.
Roasted,
right?
But also true.
And now that there's a kind of, that's a double-edged sword, right? There's good news and bad news to that. There's good news is he's going to play.
Right.
Bad news is what happens with Dylan Moore is anytime he gets full-time plate appearances, he gets exposed.
Bang. Knew where you were going there.
It hasn't completely happened yet this year, but I think it will. So I do think you can ride with it for right now and try to steal some, sneaky stolen bases. But I do think at the end, this comes back down to Dylan Moore is not good against right-handed pitching.
Yeah. And that's where I was early. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm going to stay. It's great that he's doing well. And I'm glad you pointed out that caveat with Jason, because I wasn't trying to imply that he loves him everywhere, that he's telling people to pick him up. He plays AL only, not exclusively AL only leagues, but he plays a couple deep AL onlys. And when you got a quad eligible guy, even one who struggles against righties, but if they're going to get playing time, that's a valuable piece because you can dot him around your lineup to get in any free agent that you want. And that's like Willie Castro is super valuable in a league like that too, because when you can move your pieces around to make sure that any free agent that comes up can fit your team, that's super, super valuable. All right. So Dylan Moore, we'll keep tabs on him. And if he can even do like a 7.25 OPS against righties, though, that would be pretty nice because he kills lefties so much that even just a competent level against righties would be nice. But he does need to work up to get there because even with today's 2 hits, that's probably only going to put him in the low 600s. Ben Rice. Now, he was somebody I like. Now, if you wonder maybe why I don't have as much Soderstrom, partly because I just wasn't as hot on him as Justin. I cannot claim to be. But it's because I was big on Ben Rice. And that's a thing, too, that you were pointing out, that like you had other avenues for corner and for first base, and util was blocked off because you have one Ohtani share and a bunch of Schwarber shares. I kept going for Nathaniel Lowe. I had upper level first baseman that I liked. I was also a big Isaac Paredes guy. So first base, corner, util, it was tough to keep those open, but I had to get my boy Ben Rice, and I'm happy to do so. The only tough part is because of some of that depth that I have, I don't have all of his numbers in my starting lineup, which is kind of a bummer, but he has 5 homers, 2 steals, and a 1,003 OPS so far. Ben Rice looks fantastic. Justin, are we buying into the Ben Rice breakout here?
I think I am. Now, I do worry about like what happens if and when Stanton comes back, because
that's fiction.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, this is why, like, this is a conversation for later. Because that's why I said if.
You did say if and when, in fairness,
right?
Yeah.
Like, because I think it is an if, more, just as much as a when. But the Yankees are paying Stanton a lot of money, and that is a big.
No, you're right.
Sitting on the bench. Now, if any team can like argue like we don't care about money, we're going to put the best guy out there, it's the Yankees.
You would think.
You would hope, right? But that being said, until it happens, I would be rolling with Ben Rice. Like, this is another guy. Like, Soderstrom's a guy that I would totally right now buy high on, right? I would pay whatever it costs to go get me some Tyler Soderstrom. One, because I think someone would be thinking they're selling high. But 2, just because I think he's that good. I think Ben Rice is that good too. The underlying numbers on Rice are pretty damn good. His batting average right now is 273. His XBA is 322.
Wow. So there's some upside there.
He's got 86% zone contact, which is above league average. He's got a 10% swing and strike rate, a 21% O swing. I think the only issue with Ben Rice is right now pitchers are not attacking him in the zone. They are going outside the zone thinking he is going to swing. Yep. And he just doesn't swing. Like, he is a very patient hitter. If they start attacking him in the zone, is he going to be able to handle that? Right. Now, in his defense, a little bit, as I'm trying to pull it up right now, but doesn't seem to be on Savant. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting, 267 against fastballs. So, like, I think they should start attacking him a little bit.
Sure.
Make him prove that he can consistently hit that fastball. But I do think this is real. I was really big on Ben Rice when he came up last year, and I'm kicking myself because I feel like I overlooked him in my projections a little bit.
Well, I will say again, even if you had a better projection on him, it would have been tough to maybe get him just because there were so many great first base options that it was hard for me to roster all of them. Like I said, I don't even have all of his stats in my lineup right now because I had other guys that I trust and I'm happy to have in first, corner, and util. Joe, what about you with Ben Rice? He came up last year, and I want to say he started off like a house on fire and then collapsed to the point where he ended up hitting 186 and it looks like, oh, this guy sucks, or 171 even. I overstated it. But those that paid attention to that 50 game sample, you saw something. There was some real power there. There was some real intrigue. So people stayed on him. He had a big spring, parlayed that into a roll. It helped that Stanton wasn't around, but he hit 5 homers in spring, gets a roll, already has 5 homers this year. The 2 steals is nice too. I don't know if that's going to keep up on any sort of pace, but I like the little 2 chip in steals here. Where are you at on Ben Rice going forward? Is this somebody to buy?
Yeah, I just wish the fantasy gods would give us a breakout that wasn't a first baseman. We have
right.
Soderstrom,
Where the hell are we going to put all these guys?
Aranda, Michael Bush, Torkelson. Can we get somebody who breaks out at second or third? I would love that. But Ben Rice is about as legit as they come, I think. The speed is interesting. 64th percentile sprint speed is kind of better than I was expecting before I took a look at it. So maybe he chips in, 7 or 8 stolen bases. I don't think that's really, we weren't really expecting anything. If you even get a few of them, I think you'd take it.
I agree.
But Justin laid it all out very well. The batting average is solid. The XBA is even better. The batting at the top of the order is the huge part. And I know he sat against the most recent lefty, but the previous lefty before that, they had him batting second in the order. So it doesn't seem like he's a strict platoon guy. He's going to get reps even against lefties. Might not be as many. They might move him down a little bit, but he's not just like a pure Kerry Carpenter type. He will get some ABs there against left-handed pitching. And I think we can easily see 20 home runs here, call it 6 or 7 steals with a 250, 260 batting average. At the top of the Yankee lineup, there is a lot of value there. So I think there's still some shallower leagues where he's out there. If you're looking at like Yahoo, ESPN waiver wires, if you're playing in those leagues, you might still be able to get him, but like I alluded to, the problem is that you probably already have a Soderstrom or an Aranda. It's tough to get the first baseman into your lineup, but Ben Rice, amongst all those breakouts, I think that he's maybe the second most appealing behind Soderstrom. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I'm totally with you on the first base piece. It is really difficult right now. It's like, hey, get us some shortstop breakouts, some second base breakouts, even some outfield breakouts. I'll take right now. Enough with the first baseman. All right, so we all like Ben Rice. Again, he is going to be available in some of those shallower 10-teamers, and I do think he's worth a look there if you need something at first or util or corner if you have corner. And that's another tough part too. Some of those shallow leagues don't use corner, and so getting all those guys in it is hard. Let's go to Kameron Misner and Jake Mangum because they were both discussed on the 4-6 pod. A couple guys coming up for the Rays, but they have kept it going. Let's start with Kameron Misner. He was discussed on that free agency pod with you and Jason, Justin, and he's hitting 429 cents. So he hasn't missed a beat. He's kept going, and he hit 2 homers the other day. His only 2 during the run, but that's fine. Couple multi-hit games, several hits throughout, 6 ribbies, and a stolen base. So I do not remember yesterday any podcast I listened to, let alone one I listened to 2 weeks ago. So I don't remember what you guys said, but where are you on Misner? Did you like him at the time? Have you stuck with him? Did you get him anywhere during that first big pickup week? Is Kameron Misner somebody you're buying in on going forward?
Yeah, I picked him up in a bunch of places. Not because I necessarily believed completely in the talent, but one, because there is power and speed in this profile. There's a ton of power and speed.
And then PT was there.
Yeah, and PT was there, especially when DeLuca went down with an injury, right? I'm trying to remember. It might be Eric Logenhagen. There's a prospect guy, and I know I'm not probably attributing right. I think it was Eric, but he said like he is the most physically gifted player in the Rays system, and that's saying something.
Oh wow, yeah.
If it's not Eric, then I apologize who said it, but like he is like a physical freak in terms of his power and speed. The problem has always been him being able to make in zone contact. He has struggled with it. In 2023 in the minor leagues, he had a 73.6% in zone contact rate. That is terrible. In 2024, it was 80.4%. And even in the majors last year in his brief sample, he was at 62.5%, which is truly just amazingly atrocious. So far this year, it's at 95% in zone contact rate.
Jeez.
So, and what he's done is become more patient in the zone. He's willing to take some pitches in the zone to wait for the pitch that he wants. Will this keep up? Not at this rate for sure. But even if he could if Kameron Misner hits 85% zone contact, which is league average, or at least it was last year. I haven't really looked yet for this year. If he just has league average zone contact, or even just a little bit below, Kameron Misner could be a star. Like he absolutely could be a star. There is a ton of power, a ton of speed. He is a decent defender. I think this is a guy who could massively break out. Like if you're asking me, like, hey, who could be this year's potential Brenton Doyle, Lawrence Butler? Kameron Misner could be that guy. And so if he's still available in your leagues, if you're in a 10 or a 12 team league, and he's still out there on the wire, go grab him.
I know why you went with those two names. Because he does bring a speed element. Kameron Misner does. He was 30 for 33 on stolen bases last year. But I think a name that Joe invoked is actually who Kameron Misner could be, the speed part notwithstanding, Kerry Carpenter, because he never plays against lefties, nor really should he right now. I don't think that we've seen Misner. I think he's sat against each of the last 4 lefties, but he's leading off against he led off against righties today. I wonder if that's going to become a trend or not. He's been batting 6th, and today they let him lead off. But again, he's going to be a strong side platoon guy with great power. I think this could be like Carpenter plus some speed. Where are you at on Kameron Misner, Joe? Was he somebody you liked in those early April pickups? And do you like that he's continued on? Like, did he have to sway you, or were you in early and you still believe?
I was kind of in. I threw some bids in my NFBC leagues, but the bidding was crazy in my leagues. Like, it was over 100 in most cases. 90 to like 120, which seems kind of reasonable, especially considering what Justin just laid out. Here's a comp for you guys. Here's a comp. It's kind of a lazy one, but Josh Lowe, a little bit of power.
Honestly, I was literally going to say that.
That's like, totally fair.
Is very much like a Josh Lowe type profile, but Josh Lowe has not yet shown the ability to consistently hit in the zone. Like
with the
whereas Kameron Misner's starting to.
Misner's showing the improvements that we were hoping that Lowe could get. Yeah, I think that's a great call. Don't even go out of the org. Stick with the guy who's there. And Misner could end up being a Josh Lowe type, which would be huge. And then those $100, $90 fab bids would be very worth it there.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Joe. You're talking like low teens projected homers. Like maybe he can get to like 17 or so with potential for like 25 to 30 stolen bases. He strikes out a little bit too much. Good barrel rate. Like it is. I know it's like the obvious one because he's like replacing Josh Lowe essentially, but he's kind of like Josh Lowe. And if he turns into anything like Josh Lowe, 20 and 32, 10 and 25 each of the last 2 seasons, and the 10 and 25 was in a pretty bad year for Josh Lowe, missing time. I mean, if Misner can even be 80% of that, I would happily take it. I kind of wish, after Justin gave that tidbit about the most talented member of the race system or the most athletic, however you phrased it, that does stand out to you. And I think if he's going to continuously get reps in the leadoff spot in that ballpark, kind of kicking myself for not up in the bids by an extra 10 or 20 bucks.
And especially if he's going to hold some of these strikeout gains, because Kameron Misner's strikeout rate right now is 16%. And this is a guy we were concerned with being in the 30s. So again, he's probably not going to stay all the way down at 16, but even moving to the mid 20s, like we were saying with Soderstrom, would be workable with all the other talents that he has. So I like the Josh Lowe comp. Justin, you said you were going to make it. You have a final word on Misner here before we go to Mangum?
Nope.
Let's go to Mangum then. So Jake Mangum, different profile. He was more of like the speed, we usually say power speed. Like that's the order we say them. Sometimes I like to flip the order just to imply that the player in question is a lot more about the speed. So I think Mangum would be a speed power guy and not even that much power. Like it would be some chip in pop here and there, but the speed component is legit. 7 SBs already, leads the American League. He has 4 in the 10 games since you guys talked about him. He's only hitting 242 in that time, but when you're already getting 4 steals in 10 games, you can't be really upset about the pickup. Where were you on him then, and where are you now with Jake Mangum, Justin?
Mangum is, I wouldn't even call him speed power. I'd say speed average.
Speed average, okay.
He does not have much power to speak of at all. Like Fangraphs has a 30 grade game power, grade on him. So I would say this is a guy who can hit for a good average and steal some bases. Not going to hit 300. But could he hit 270 and steal you 35 bases? Absolutely. I think it's really just going to come down to what happens when other guys come back. Because once Josh Lowe comes back, once Johnny DeLuca comes back, will both of these guys have a job? No. So one of these guys is going to get set down. You think one of them's going to have a job? Or both of them are going to have jobs?
Christopher Morel is striking out 40% of the time. If he didn't have a 500 BABIP, his numbers would be in the shitter.
No, he's a terrible defender. So
and I like Christopher Morel, but like, and I'm sure people are saying he has a 131 WRC plus. What are you talking about? I just said it. 500 BABIP. I wasn't exaggerating. 40% K rate. He sucks, man. He kind of sucks.
Well, but even if like Morel loses that job, which I think he should and he could, that's still 4 outfielders once DeLuca and Lowe come back. Now they may just make DeLuca a reserve outfielder. But
does Josh Lowe have to? Like, I like Josh Lowe.
I think Josh Lowe's playing when he's healthy.
He better.
Is he though? I don't know. Maybe. Depends how they're playing. He's out for quite some time too. What's he going to look like when he comes back for Josh Lowe?
Well, no, I think they just said he's going to start a rehab assignment pretty soon.
Oh, I thought he was out like 8 weeks, making improvement, moving pain-free. It says still a ways away. That was April 8th. So the latest update I have was April 8th, still a ways away, but happy with the way his body was feeling. Those were the 2 quotes that they had. I think he's still out a whole month from now.
That's better than me. I'm not happy with the way my body's feeling.
Me neither. I'm not happy with the way your body's feeling. I think he's out at least another month, Josh Lowe. Maybe I'm overshooting it, but I'm going to go a little bit high as we do on the timelines. Again, I'm not going to go too aggro on him not playing. I think he should play too. I like Josh Lowe. I'm a fan. But I'm just saying, if Misner's kicking ass like this.
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, if
skills,
Misner is hitting the way he is in a month or whenever these guys come back, like, I don't know how you can't send him down. Like, he has to play every single day.
Right.
Or at least against right-handed pitching. I think my question is, what do they do with DeLuca? What do they do with Lowe? I think my only question is, can Misner keep this up?
Right.
Because I don't know. Because I'm pretty sure that Mangum can keep this up. I think he has a really, really good hit tool, and he's got a lot of speed. Talking about a guy who has a 94% zone contact. He was 87% zone contact in the minor leagues last year. He's pretty much hit at every level. I think he's going to be fine. He does, I think, profile more as a 4th outfielder long term. So maybe it is a matter of when everybody gets back healthy, the outfield looks like Josh Lowe, Johnny DeLuca, and Kameron Misner if Misner's still hitting.
With Mangum and Morel mixing in.
With Mangum and Morel mixing in. But yeah, it's going to get crowded at some point. That being said, these things always work themselves out one way or another.
Right.
Like
talent, performance or injury. Morel could be a short side platoon guy. He's a righty. Mangum's a switch hitter. So the pieces do fit together at least because you got Misner and Lowe. They're carbon copies. They're both lefties. Then you got DeLuca and Morel on the right side, and then Mangum as the switch. So I think the pieces really do work interchangeably. It might be a little tough for fantasy because they can't all play all the time. But I think Morel has to be looking over his shoulder as that 500 BABIP drops. And then we'll see where DeLuca and Lowe are with their health. And, of course, if Misner and Mangum keep going, they have to keep going, too. For some reason, I thought Mangum had some super utility aspect to him, but he doesn't play the infield. I've been looking for a way to get Taylor Walls the hell out of that lineup forever, as I'm sure the Rays have been, too.
No, they love him defensively.
Well, actually, you're right. It's the other way. They love him too much.
This is how I know you didn't listen to the podcast last Sunday, because Jason goes, I want them to get rid of Taylor Walls, but they love his defense so freaking much.
Well, we've actually been saying that too about I think even in the shortstop preview, we're like, they're gonna play him when he's healthy because they love him.
This is why I didn't understand why people were still drafting Jose Caballero. Like, I know he's fast, but like
he's got 5 steals and he's actually hitting really well. And
but he's still not gonna play like every day because Walls is there.
He's played 13 out of 17 games. He's played fine. He's played enough. I don't think that's the best point to make. I think, and I wasn't even a big Caballero guy because my problem is that I don't think he can hit. But I understood why people are drafting him because they're looking at Taylor Walls' performance, and he's a terrible baseball player. Well, a terrible hitter. He's not a terrible baseball player. He knows how to play defense. But anyway, he stinks. Anything else on Mangum from either of you before we go to another San Francisco Giant, or our first San Francisco Giant, I should say? All right. Mike Yastrzemski. Not the one you guys thought I was going to talk about. I'm sure there's been everyone's playing well over there. We could have spun a wheel.
Oh yeah.
Because
so when we were talking about Soderstrom, I went over and looked up our player rater, and Soderstrom is the 5th best hitter in baseball for fantasy this year.
Wow.
You know who's number 7?
Is it Yaz?
No, it's Lee.
Oh, I love that. I almost put him on, but I gush about Jung-Hoo Lee all the time. I just figured it'd be more of the same, but I just put me down for more gushing on Jung-Hoo Lee. I'm such a fan.
Insane to me.
Well, because he's found a little power stroke.
Yeah.
He's hitting 338 with 3 steals. Everyone's probably saying, okay, I can see that coming. But 3 homers for Jung-Hoo Lee has pushed him up that board. I'm not terribly surprised. 3 homers, 2 steals, and a 314 average for Mike Yastrzemski. Now, you already said offline, because I was giving you the business a little bit about how I had to try to convince you that your own team is actually pretty decent at hitting. And I didn't think they were going to be this good. They've been hitting off the charts to the point where I'm actually scared starting some non-aces against them right now. But they're hitting very well. They got guys up and down the lineup doing well. But 35-year-old Mike Yastrzemski doing some damage. What's up with this, Justin? Is there any legitimacy here coming off of, a couple of, he's been solid, boring, what you see is what you get type guy. Is this just a hot run or an old man kick here for Mike Yastrzemski?
I think it's just a hot run. I mean, I don't think he's necessary. I don't think Yastrzemski's going to be bad or anything.
What's up with the 2 steals? Is that just tiny sample? I mean, he has 3 all last year. Is that just small sample in April, or is there anything there that he could steal like 8 or 10?
I think that the Giants are running more as a team, just generally speaking. They're picking their spots. They're being a little bit more aggressive than they were last season, which is good to see because they were a team outside of Matt Chapman. Like they were a team that just did not run. And Matt Chapman, for some reason, was
the funniest part was that of all people,
26% of their stolen bases last year. Like it was unreal. Like it made 0 sense.
They're 13th in the league right now, by the way. I just want to say 16 steals for the Giants. Go ahead.
So they're just being more aggressive on the base paths this year as a team. But Yastrzemski is just one of these guys that when he's healthy, he is a solid, strong side platoon hitter. He cannot hit lefties. They're not even going to let him hit lefties very often. But Yastrzemski's just kind of a solid dude. Nothing has changed in his profile. Everything looks just about exactly the same. I think this is just a hot streak that will cool down. And he'll be like a 270-ish kind of hitter with a little bit of pop and a little bit of speed. But once he cools down, the fact that he platoons isn't going to be very interesting.
I think that's fine. I think Yastrzemski rounds into like a 15-team type play. Where he'll be a plus bat, but not terribly special. The one element is if that team is running and a guy who is a 2 to 3 projection, if they can get to 8 to 10, that's a nice little value boost that you can get from somebody, again, especially in a deep league, which is where I think Yastrzemski is best. Joe, do you have any countering thoughts there? Because if not, we're going to move to our next guy. I feel like he's kind of a straightforward one, but do you have anything you want to add on Yastrzemski?
No, he was like, if you look at the play discipline data, it's like you could flip it from last year and this season. You'd have no idea which one is which. They're almost exactly the same. It just kind of snuck up on me that he's already 35. Like, it feels like he's
a late bloomer.
A couple years. Yeah,
late,
28.
Yeah, didn't break out till 28. So late bloomer guy here and running like a 394 BABIP. So that's a big part of why the success is there.
Yeah.
But there are some core skills here that work for Yastrzemski. Again, focus on 15 teamers. You can ride it in 12 teamers right now, but you're probably not going to keep him all year. Let's go to Matt Mervis. And I'm going to start with you, Joe, because Justin and I were on record as loving him from years ago. Now, I think both of us had moved off. Justin, you can speak for yourself when I come back to you. But I really wasn't getting there this year. I kind of found everything that wasn't Xavier Edwards and Jesus Sanchez pretty disinterested in any of the other Marlins, and I really wasn't even that interested in Edwards and Sanchez, but those were the two I would give a look to. But Mervis, back when he was in the Arizona Fall League and part of the Cubs system, Justin and I were among those at AFL that year who got really geeked about him, and then it just never happened. mainly because they never gave him opportunities. He just kept getting blocked off and getting these small little opportunities. I mean, 99 plate appearances in 2023, 28 last year. So even though the performance was bad, the samples weren't big enough to matter. But it was just clear that like they'd moved on. So he had to get out of that org. He goes to Miami. To their credit, they're at least playing him. They got this guy as like, I thought they were going to yoink him around too, because we weren't hearing too much word about whether or not he was going to start. They had Jonah Bride locked in at first base throughout the bulk of spring. Are we buying the Matt Mervis surge? Because there's pluses and minuses to what he's doing right now, but he has 6 homers in 13 games. What's up with Matt Mervis, Joe?
Yeah, I remember that AFL fondly because it was my first one, and Matt Mervis was one of the talks of the town. I think it was Matt Mervis and Brandon Fott were the
yes, you nailed it. Yep, you nailed it.
I'm glad I can remember some things. I don't remember.
Yeah, good memory.
But with Mervis, if coming into the season, I would have had him as the 3rd best first baseman on the roster because I would have had Devin De Los Santos and Jonah Bride above him coming into the season. I was kind of down. Last season was not terribly impressive. And even though he has 6 home runs, I just can't get into him. The lineup is so bad. 40% strikeout rate, 20% swinging strike rate. He's earning those strikeouts. I can't see it. Like, especially because of what we mentioned earlier. Every hot pickup right now is a first baseman. So the only way I would pick up.
Let me interrupt you real quick. He's util only in NFBC, just making things even worse. He can only even play one. He's going to get first base soon, Matt Mervis is, but he is util only, just adding to the problem that you're talking about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's kind of it. Unless you missed out on Aranda and Rice and everybody else in terms of first base pickups, right, odds are you either drafted a decent first baseman or you've already picked up one of these hot bats. I just can't see it unless it's a super deep NL only league. And even there, I would expect that he's going to come back to earth very, very soon.
I'm with Joe 100%, Justin. I don't know where you're at, but the 40% K rate, earning it, like Joe said, 20% swinging strike. He's hot with the 6 homers. That's nice, but it's a 55% homer to fly ball, which is just absurd. Do you have anything to say here to counter where we're at, Joe and I?
No.
The hesitation in your voice is that you want it to be better, but you know you can't make the argument, right?
Yeah,
am I reading that properly?
So, like, here's the thing. Joe already mentioned he's got a 20% swinging strike rate, a 40% strikeout rate. His zone contact rate now is 71.6%. Remember, 80% is that threshold on whether I go, are you a major leaguer or not?
Right.
And we're closer to 70 than we are to 80. He's swinging outside of the zone 37% of the time.
Jeez.
Nothing makes sense here. His XBA is 225. He has a 275 batting average right now.
So are we at a point? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because even if you shrink down the sample, if you say like, oh, he started off his first few games poorly, right? Mm-hmm. And you then go and say, well, like, hey, what if we don't count all those games? And we just say from the time where he started to get hot on April 5th, he's had 6 home runs, 11 RBIs, and he's hitting 360, 429, 1.080 slug. Okay. His underlying numbers are even worse during that period. He's still got a 19% swinging strike rate. He's got a 67% zone contact.
So then are we at a point with Matt Mervis where you have to fine your pitchers if they throw a strike in the zone to him right now? Should you even be throwing what it is in the zone?
They should, because he's going to miss in the zone so much.
I mean, that's true. You're right. I was thinking just get him to chase.
I think what they're saying is like, listen, why put this guy on first? Because there's nobody else on first because it's the Marlins.
Right.
If you give up the solo shot, you give up the solo shot. Like, even in this stretch where he has just been like absolutely tearing the cover off the ball, if my computer will actually let me get to it. He's got 6 home runs. It's 11 RBIs.
That's so bad.
Like, it's like, the pitchers just don't care because there's nobody on base. Like, okay, we're still going to beat you 8-1 as opposed to 8-0.
Yeah.
Like, if
we'll give a will give a solo if you clip me. But here it is, Mervis, if you can hit it, which most of the time you can't with your 40% strikeout rate. So you're right. They can throw it in the zone because it's going to come back down to earth. Like Joe said, if you missed out on all of them, all the util DH first base types, sure, you can go with this for a little bit in a deeper league, but it's going to come crashing down, and there's not enough juice. Like, just be very careful here. I don't even think I'd pick him up. Even if he was available somewhere, I don't even think
I picked him up in a 15-team dynasty league just for the hell of it. But like, he's just been sitting on my bench. Like, I haven't gotten really any of this goodness just because I don't trust him to even go in my lineup.
Now let's move on because we're just not in on this. And again, this is coming from two guys. And Joe, I don't know where you were back in that AFL, but we liked Mervis.
I like
doesn't mean that we don't stop. That we don't adjust when we see that things just aren't that good. Now here's a guy, our next guy here, that I was a little surprised wasn't really getting much heat at all during the spring. And I know part of it was that he didn't have a starting job, but again, we live in the 15-team landscape quite a bit, main event world and all that. And Josh Smith from Texas wasn't getting any heat. Now, again, I grant that he didn't have a starting role, but with the crusty-ass old team that Texas has, that something was going to crop up, and he's the first man up for pretty much everybody besides Jonah Heim, the catcher. Like, every other position that goes down, who's the first man up? It was Josh Smith. And so when Wyatt Langford went out, boom, Josh Smith is in. Now, Josh Smith himself has actually been nicked up the last 3 days, but even when Langford comes back, if somebody else goes down, it's going to be Josh Smith. And I started to get a little keen on him late in draft season, only wound up with 1 share, so I'm not back padding and acting like I was there. I'm actually kicking myself a little bit that he wasn't more of a DC pick for me, because that's where I really think Josh Smith should have been a bigger focus. Off to a fast start again here, hitting 342. Walk rate is double, up to 14% this year. 1 homer, 3 steals. Are we seeing anything here from Josh Smith? Did we miss the boat by not being hotter on this guy? I know the 462 BABIP isn't going to last, Justin, but should he have been a better deep league attraction after what he did last year as a big-time super sub for Texas?
I mean, not really. I just
even at his price point, he was post 400.
Like he was pretty much free. So like I don't necessarily have a problem with people who are like, hey, this is a guy who can kind of play any position. And he's played first, left, shortstop, second, and third this year.
And he has third and short by default coming into the year for and he's Josh Smith we're talking about. Go ahead.
And he's likely going to pick up outfield eligibility because he's playing for Wyatt Langford. I love how you said, like, well, we know he's going to get playing time because it's a crusty old team. And it was Wyatt Langford that opened
the young guy. That is kind of funny that I said that.
It was Josh Young before Wyatt Langford went down, and now that
literally the 2 youngest guys.
It's the 2 youngest guys on the team.
Semien, Seager, and Adolis are like, who are you calling old, bitch?
Yeah, Semien plays every day.
Like, we're the ones staying healthy. That's a great pushback there. You're exactly right. But either way, he's the first man up for everybody that isn't catcher. Josh Smith.
I think the problem with Josh Smith is there really isn't necessarily a carrying tool for fantasy.
That's fair.
He needs to be a guy that plays every day, and he's never going to be a guy that plays every day because he can't hit lefties. So I have a hard time carrying that much about Josh Smith.
Wait. You got 592 plate appearances last year. What the fuck are you talking about?
That's because everybody was hurt.
It's going to happen again.
But he's not even hitting. They're not even like, he's only got 9 plate appearances versus lefties this year. They're not playing him versus lefties.
How many lefties have they faced?
I don't know. I don't keep that up.
Well, then your point is invalid, possibly. Not necessarily. I'm just saying possibly because we don't know how many they've faced. Now, I'll look it up while you keep talking. But so far, I don't think your points have been very strong about Josh Smith. Go ahead and continue.
Josh PR is going, or sorry, Kevin PR. Pilar is platooning with him. When they face a lefty, Pilar comes in.
Okay.
And so I just don't think, because he doesn't have like a ton of power or a ton of speed, he's going to be able to accumulate. Because if you want to say that Josh Smith has a carrying tool, it's the hit tool.
4 games versus lefties.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't started 3 of them.
Yes.
So that's fine. Excuse me. He's 2-2. Excuse me. Correct myself. He's 2-2. He started the first 2. He didn't start the most recent 2.
How many hits in his 9 plate appearances do you think he has versus lefties this year?
Probably none. Why is that your number one point, though? I think that's a weak number one point.
No, because if he's not going to play regularly or he doesn't play well against lefties, he can't accumulate. Like he is an accumulator type profile.
592 plate appearances last year. I just covered that.
He's not going to do that again.
How the fuck do you know?
I know everything.
You don't know shit. Oh, man, the curse guy is very upset today. I'm going in. All right, 2 lefties on the Athletics, 2 on the Angels. Okay, so that's 4. That's something. Fromber for sure on Houston. Do they have anybody else? No, so it's 5. And then Seattle doesn't have anybody, right? They're all righties. All right, so there's 5 in the division. Okay. I'm not too bothered by that.
Board bet over under 525 plate appearances. I will take the under.
I'll easily take that. Absolutely. I'm slamming that. I think you're whack. All right.
Worst board bet ever.
That's what you say every time. You make yourself take these terrible bets. Of course I'm going to 360 windmill that. Joe, you just heard us fighting over Josh Smith. Where do you come out? And, do you like him at all?
It was very entertaining couple minutes on my end watching that, by the way. So I didn't realize this market kind of inefficiency coming into the season, but why was Willie Castro going 200 picks ahead of Josh Smith? 200 picks.
Ooh, now you're going to piss Justin off because he loves Willie
because
Castro.
Willie Castro has stolen like 30 bases at the major league level before.
Last year, Willie Castro, 14 steals, 12 homers, 247. Last year, Josh Smith, 13 homers, 11 steals,
tell him, get him.
One of the reasons why Willie Castro was going so much higher, especially at the end of draft season, is because Royce Lewis got hurt. And so there was a clear spot.
That's fair.
Where Willie Castro was going to kind of just go in right away.
I will grant that.
The Twins are the most injured team. The Twins make the Angels look healthy.
That's also fair. I will grant that point too.
You're right.
I do think you're sleeping on Smith's. I like the point that you're making, though, that he was a good value for where he was with the 2 positions that Josh Smith had and the potential to add more. And I think your general point that like maybe he should have gotten a little bit more attention is kind of where I'm at. He was 122, the 122nd best hitter last year, according to the auction calculator. And Willie Castro was 95th. So they weren't that far apart, especially, let me see, that's $9 versus $430. Okay, so it's actually a pretty decent split there for 90 to 122.
That big of a difference.
I'm actually kind of surprised by that too.
That line was the same. Their stat line was almost identical, down to the batting average, homers, steals. Let me see, 67, 62. Oh, it was the runs from Castro, 89 runs. That's what did it.
Yep, that's 100% it. Because Smith only had 67. That's exactly the difference.
That's what.
So I don't know, and I get your general point about the carrying tool thing, Justin. Like, okay, so he won't be able to address your steals necessarily, or address your power, or even necessarily address your average. Is that necessarily an automatic like negative though?
No, because
like,
I think
what if you just need a good player?
Especially if you, I like players like this that fill multiple positions, especially in a 15-team league.
Yeah, because they're cheaper too.
Guy who can go on my bench, and I know, like, hey, if I have an injury, like for instance, if you lost Christian Encarnacion-Strand this week, he went on the IL after Fab went. Well, you can throw Josh Smith into your CI spot, right?
Right.
I love having, we're going to talk about Gabriel Arias here in a second. Right.
Love guy who's, by the way, spoiler alert.
Middle, second base, third base, middle corner. I may not love the skills necessarily. And I don't think, spoiler alert, I don't think Arias is going to keep up what he's been doing necessarily.
Damn you.
But I like putting that kind of guy at the back end of my roster on my bench as a guy who can fill in multiple spots for me because it's one less reserve hitter I have to carry. And I can go I can go spec on a minor leaguer. I can go spec on an injured guy. I can go spec on an extra pitcher.
Or if you're having to chase saves like I am, you can get another fucking lame ass closer.
Or if you've already got an injury, like, oh, okay, now this is covering for that injured spot already, right? Like, like if you've got a guy like Josh Smith on your roster, and you have Christian Encarnacion-Strand out. Like now I'm not carrying in order to carry a backup for all my positions. I don't have to carry that extra position. So I'm just because I don't think he is necessarily like a difference maker in fantasy. Doesn't mean I don't believe he has a role for fantasy teams.
Okay.
I just want to be honest about who I think he is from a profile sense, and I think he's boring.
He is a bit boring, Josh Smith is. And I like boring players in deeper leagues. Just give me some,
That's how I got this job.
Production. Just give me some production, Josh Smith. So again, I'm not doing backflips and pretending like he's a superstar, but what he did last year, 13-11 with a 258, playing damn near every day. I think he can kind of get there in the 525 board bet that we did on the plate appearances. I do like that in favor of the over. Let's talk Gabriel Arias, because I did say that I do like him. I want to be clear. Saying I love him is a little bit overstated because I didn't even put him on either preview that we did. So I can't be saying how much I loved him and this and that, because you got to call bullshit on me there. Because then, like, why wasn't he on the second or third base preview? Because he was super buried and wasn't that appealing. My love for him, and it's been a few episodes since I've done this, was because he popped off for me in OOTP, and I became such a fan. He and Rocchio became my double play combo for a Cleveland sim that I did, and I just fell in love with both of them. So I like them for a video game reason. Very, very nerdy. I understand that. But Arias is popping off right now. He's got a 288 average, 356 OBP, 538 slug with 4 homers. Now, I'm going to start with you, Joe. You can go into the negatives, and there are some here, particularly with the strikeouts and everything. So you can throw the cold water on it. Let's see where we're at. Is there anything here for Arias? Because the one thing I do like, before you get into the negatives, I think he's going to play every day. And so can he work through some of the trouble? Go ahead. Where are we at on Gabriel Arias for Cleveland?
So when Matt Mervis takes a look at Gabriel Arias,
stop! That's not fair.
He blushes a little bit.
It's true.
So the zone contact, what did you say, Justin? That's like 80% is, are you a major leaguer?
Mhm.
Arias is 65%.
I have to leave. I'll see you guys later.
23% swinging strike.
It's terrible. It's a 50% homer to fly ball and a 355 BABIP that are saving Arias. I want to be clear. There are warts here. Is there anything to cling to besides the fast start? Do you like him at all? Deep league, AL only, anything with Arias?
Yeah. No, I'm not like totally out. The fact that he's going to play a lot, the lineup is not bad. 11% barrel, 49 hard hit. There are some positives, but this feels like something that's not going to last for very long. If you want to pick him up and try and ride out this little bit of a hot streak, then you might get a productive week or two out of him. But is he going to be somebody that goes into your lineup for the rest of the season? I'd be shocked, personally.
And I'll be clear, I would be too. I like him. I'm rooting for him. That doesn't mean that I fully advocate Gabriel Arias and I'm saying pick him up in 10s and 12s. It's a 15-team thing. This is where my deep league really shines through, because a guy like this can still be valuable, even if he's just on your bench covering corner and mid the way Justin said. So I totally grant all those flaws. I'm not going to push back. Justin, if you got more flaws you want to expose about Arias, feel free. I will fully grant them all.
No, so here's the thing. Everything that Joe said is true. I'm not going to even like try to defend Arias in any way, shape, or form, because I think the underlying skills are offensively are terrible.
They're offensive even.
They're offensive. Yes, they are. Here's the one thing I will say that makes Gabriel Arias a little bit interesting, aside from the fact that Paul mentioned that he's going to play every day, because he is a very good defender up the middle. Right. At second base. The one thing that Arias has done this year is 3 of his 4 home runs have gone to right field. Uh-oh. They've gone oppo to that wind tunnel in Cleveland that it was created last year when they took those seats away. He does have power, and he's got power the opposite way. So I think he could hit some home runs that you normally wouldn't think of a right-handed batter in Cleveland being able to hit because of that. So I do think that there could be some power upside here, especially because, like Paul mentioned, he's going to play every day. And with that wind tunnel being able to go oppo, and even like the one home run that wasn't oppo was like right center. Technically it kind of was. It just wasn't towards the wind tunnel necessarily. So
right.
I think that's the only thing that really intrigues me, other than the multi-position eligibility.
So it might be
wasn't eligible at both. I probably wouldn't care very much.
Yes, and There's a chance that he adds Gabriel Arias could add shortstop, not super soon because Rocchio's there, but like by Memorial Day, perhaps. So that's still 6 weeks away, but that could be added. And then you have the triple positional eligibility.
He played shortstop yesterday.
So that's 4 games so far. You need 10 in season at the NFBC.
Yeah.
So maybe it won't even take that long. Maybe,
one more in Yahoo.
Maybe one more in Yahoo. Maybe 6 more in NFBC. Maybe it's mid-May as opposed to late May. So that's just a little extra bonus there. This could be like a 230, 225, but with pop. And that's the one thing I really do like about Arias. Of course, a 50% homer to fly ball rate won't last. But when you're showing opposite field power, that is something that even like Justin said, 3 homers and technically all 4 to the oppo side of the outfield. That is a skill that can stabilize quickly to be like, whoa, this is an actual jump in power here. And
in some organizations, a guy who strikes out 35% of the time and isn't a very good hitter in general would automatically get them sent to the minors. Cleveland cares about defense.
Yes,
this is why Austin Hedges still gets a lot of run behind the plate, right? So I think he is in the right organization to keep playing in spite of his offensive issues, because he does, like Joe mentioned, like having a 66% zone contact rate. Is that's worse than the numbers I quoted on Mervis's during this hot streak when the numbers got worse. It is that bad. It is truly atrocious. It may be like the worst in baseball. And it means go look that up as I talk.
And it means that Arias has to continue to hit for power.
Yes, absolutely.
Or else he's literally doing nothing and he's really, really hurting them. So that is worth watching. But again, deep league only here with Arias. 15 teams are deeper.
It is the second worst in-zone contact rate in baseball.
Wait. Don't say who it is. Try to give us you think Joe and I could guess who the worst is?
You could, because there was a lot of talk about him this season.
Okay. Can we get early on this season? Let's start with an AL NL only clue first.
AL.
Okay.
Devers?
It is. It's Rafael Devers.
Damn, way to go, Joe.
Really?
Freaking half-courted that one. Steph Curry style. Had a baby.
64.7%.
If you hadn't said the early season part, I wouldn't have guessed it. He was like the main guy that everybody was shitting on early.
I wouldn't have guessed him because I thought he kind of erased some of that, but that just tells you how bad it was to start, because he has been pretty good of late, and he's still.
But this also goes to like the people, and for everybody who gives me shit about taking victory laps and stuff like that. I also point out when there are flaws sometimes in the way I approach things. Right. So some of the other names in the top 5 would surprise you. Jazz Chisholm is 4th on this list.
And he's been great.
Wow.
Julio Rodriguez is 5th on this list.
I've heard of that guy.
Right? So, but this is what I talk about. Some guys can overcome this if they've got lightning fast hands, right? If they're a supreme athlete. Now, I think there are, this is why Javi Baez fell off the way he did, right? Because as his hand started to slow down, he was no longer able to kind of make up for this deficiency in the zone. But Gabriel Arias is not one of those guys where I'm like, oh, this guy's going to be able to make this work.
Right. He's not J-Rod. He's not Devers. He's not Jazz. So he has to keep the power going. He really, really does, or else this could be very problematic very soon. Let's go to our next guy here, Geraldo Perdomo. And I remember when we did, I think it was our third base preview, because he qualified at third and short coming into, or no, were we talking about Lawler? Oh no, it was our shortstop preview. And then he got the extension right after the preview. So we did a revisit of him at the beginning of the third base preview. That's what it was. And we were like, well, now we feel even more confident about him getting that playing time. Lawler's going to need some time in the minors, although he is cooking and he could come up anytime and start, especially with the Ketel Marte.
How he's not up already with
Tawa.
Yeah.
I didn't mind them calling up Tawa. I thought 26 years old, putting up some big numbers. Let's see what he's doing. But he hasn't done a thing. It's 20 plate appearances. I'm reluctant
hit a home run last night.
And I'm reluctant to be like, all you get is 20 plate appearances. I'm a little bit surprised, even though I think Lawler needs some reps at the minor league level because he just hasn't gotten enough. I think he's a guy you can maybe let him play at the major league level.
I think
maybe let him learn there.
I think because they expect Marte to be back fairly quickly.
And that's
I don't think they don't want to jerk him around. I think they want.
And that's what I thought. was unless it was going to be like a multi-month stay, I don't think they want to call up Lawler for like 2-3 weeks. And I think that's why Tawa got the call. But anyway, back to Perdomo. He signs that extension, and he has not rested on his laurels. You know how the meme sometimes is like a guy gets his money and then he falls off? Not Perdomo. He's already matched his 3-homer total from last year, which he got in 388 plate appearances. He's got 2 steals already. He has a 17% walk rate, up from 9% last year, and he has a 6% strikeout rate, down from 15%. So his plate skills are a complete inversion of last year. They're off the charts excellent. 3% swinging strike, 311 average, 416 OBP, 492 slug. He's been amazing. I love Perdomo. Obviously, I don't believe in this all the way to that degree. The walk rate and strikeout rates, they're going to balance a bit. But I believe that we might be seeing a breakout here. Now, this is going to be like a Josh Smith plus thing because he doesn't really have a carrying tool. The speed is the closest thing to a fantasy carrying tool. I feel like he's been one of those guys, Perdomo, who can steal more if they just kind of like let him go. I think he can be a mid-20s steals guy. But it might be more of like 14 homers, 21 steals, 270 average, and nothing jumps off the page at you. But that's still really good across a full season. I love Perdomo. Joe, I'm going to start with you here because I know that I know mostly where Justin sits. Is Perdomo somebody you like, and are we seeing the beginnings of a breakout or just a hot stretch here of 20 games, 18 to be exact?
I wrote an article last night on Patreon just talking about breakouts that I'm buying into, and he was among the people I wrote up. I think I need to credit Chris Torres, our friend Torres takes for part of this, because he was pointing out the hard hit data. And if you look at it for the whole season, nothing's really going to stand out at you. 32% hard hit rate, 5% barrel. If you look over the last week, and I wrote this last night, so apologies if any of these numbers are slightly different. Over the last week, 64% hard hit rate, 14% barrel rate. So I don't want to put a ton of stock into it necessarily, but Chris was talking about how that can really be a sign of things that are changing. And I mean, if you look at what he's done this season, he's been brilliant across the board. You laid out the strikeouts and walks. He's walked 13 times. He struck out only 5 times. He hit 273 last year, so maybe with some improvements, we could get a 280 out of him. And hell, Paul, if he goes 14 and 20, like you said, and hits even 270 in that lineup, which is last year the most prolific offense in baseball, this season it's 3rd in runs scored amongst any team in baseball. So they're still a good offense. Perdomo could be a top 100 fantasy asset by the end of the season, and it wouldn't really shock me. I'm
neither.
I'm in.
No, I co-sign all of that 100% there, and he's moved up the lineup. He's been batting 2. Now, part of that is Marte being out. I'm not saying he's necessarily going to stay up there once Marte returns, but I don't think he goes back to 9. Why can't he bat 6 or 7 if Perdomo continues to dominate the way he's been? Again, Justin, I know that when we talked about him, you had some positive things to say. You didn't think he was like the greatest player ever, and you even thought that Lawler would come up sooner than later. I think we did have a little bit of a divergence there on when Lawler would come up. But where are you at seeing Perdomo put up these early skills so far?
They're unreal, dude. They're like 97% zone contact. Right
Good
now.
Lord. Oh, let me add one other thing before you get going.
Yeah, go ahead.
His 2.1 mile per hour bat speed improvement is 8th best. And Ben Rice leads the league with 3.1. But Nolan Jones is up there too, so it doesn't automatically mean that improving your bat speed automatically gives results.
Improving your bat speed, and I'll, probably in the offseason, I'll take a look at like bat speed along with contact ability, right? Because improving your bat speed doesn't mean anything if you can't hit with it.
Right. It's not an inherent equals good. Like the guys that are on this list, it's a mixed bag. Brendan Rodgers is on here. Brett Beatty's on here. So it's not a guarantee, but it's just another tick mark for Perdomo in addition to all the other things he's doing. So go ahead, Justin. Sorry.
I think Perdomo is kind of the perfect accumulator type, right? Like this is a Marcus Semien profile.
Yes.
Right? Like he's going to play every day. He's not going to light up like your weekly stats by any stretch of the imagination, but you're going to look at the end of the season and go, oh man, Perdomo's pretty good. Like, so like, why can't he beat Jeremy Pena? A guy who, is like a 15-15 dude with a good batting average. Because right now, like Perdomo's doing everything you want. Will it calm down? Absolutely. Like I said, 97% zone contact is absolutely elite. There's only 3 players in baseball with a better zone contact than him right now. That's Nolan Shanwell, who's just known for making a ton of contact. Luis Arias, who
Bat
is
speed also way up for Seanwell. Just want to
Yeah.
say, sorry. Go ahead.
And then Nico Horner. Like, these are all 3 guys that we know are just really good in zone hitters.
Right.
So for Perdomo to even be mentioned in the same breath as those guys, like, that's awesome. I love it. Is he going to be a league winner? No, but he should be rostered in 12-team leagues. Like, he especially when the league batting average right now is 235, and I think that Perdomo could easily hit 50 points higher than that.
Yep.
Like, he should be rostered. That's going to give you a ton of value. This is what Yandy Diaz-esque at shortstop.
Yeah. I don't really have much to add to that. I'm just really excited about where Perdomo's at right now. Joe, I think I already started with you. You already said Perdomo is your guy. So let's move on to our next guy here. This is a guy I can't quit. I'm our favorite analogy is Lucy holding the football for Charlie Brown, and we're Charlie Brown trying to kick it. I keep kicking on Trent Grisham. So far, so good, though. 4 homers, big 9% drop in strikeout rate from 27 to 18. And I still don't really understand why he had a 27% rate last year. 8% swinging strike. Like, he's not somebody who's up there flailing all the time. I think part of it is passivity with Grisham. He's always been one of these guys that takes a decent number of walks, and I think he misses his spots sometimes and should be swinging at pitches that he lets go by. But so far, so good. 308, 386, 641 slash line, 29% homer to fly ball. It's not going to last. Numbers. Bottom line, Grisham's looking good so far. Is there anything to it, Joe, with Trent Grisham?
I kind of want to believe, but at the same time, we were talking about earlier, once Stanton comes back, that things are going to get a little bit complicated in New York. He's already, as of today, projected by us as a bench bat, as a platoon bat. So he's been great. I kind of feel like we know who Trent Grisham is, but at the same time, he's only 28 years old. I'm having a bit of trouble with this one as an eval. I don't think he's amazing. I don't think that he's somebody that I would be, blowing the fab budget for, using my top waiver priority on. I feel like the improvements are very nice to see. Are they going to stick? I'd be inclined to say no. And there's nothing that I can point to say, like, aha, it's a big gotcha. I just don't really believe in it, but I've never been a Grisham guy, so that might just be a blind spot that I have. But I would generally lean towards being out rather than in here.
I can't really disagree with that, though. If I'm being honest, like, I get that. I've been around the block here with Grisham a bunch. I want it to be good, but am I like super advocating, like, go pick him up, he's amazing? No, because like you said, he's already losing PT, and that's before guys even start to return because they're prioritizing Dominguez, Bellinger, and Judge, as they should. Like, those are the 3 better guys. And then Ben Rice, our boy at DH. So I totally get it, and that's before Stanton even comes back. So I understand. I just want him to be good. This is another deep league one. Grisham, I'm only talking about deep leagues. That's the only spot where he has viability, and he's only played twice in the last 6 games. So to your point there, Joe. Justin, I got to imagine you're going to say the same and maybe even throw more cold water on Trent Grisham. Where you at?
Well, I've got good news and bad news.
Okay. I'll
take
the bad first.
The bad news is he's not going to play very much.
Damn it.
Just like you said, he's played 2 out of the last 6 games. Unless someone gets hurt. Hey, and Bellinger gets hurt. Judge has had injury history.
Sure.
Right? So, like, he could find his way into regular playing time if one of those guys goes down. Absolutely. The good news is you won't have to see the epic collapse that you always see from Trent Grisham because he's not going to play enough to technically collapse.
That's not very good news. You tricked me there.
Like, this is the opposite of like, this is the opposite of like, hey, it's gonna hurt for a while that Bailey Ober got blown up in his first start of the season. Right. You're just gonna have to wait for him to rehab his numbers. But in the end, they should look pretty good. This is the opposite. His numbers are going to look really good for a while because he's not playing enough to bring them down. He will. They'll
slowly evaporate,
yeah.
And the fast start will make Grisham look better than that. That's actually a good point about some of these breakouts that don't play all the time. And that's why game logging is so important. And that's why I always do it. I always want to see the makeup of numbers as opposed to the composite, especially early on. So
it's really the only thing like everybody always like shows like, oh, look at his rolling, his 40 game rolling, graphs. The only thing I care about that is this. This is the only thing because it really doesn't matter as much as I think other people make it out to see.
No, I think that's very well said there with Grisham. So unless something opens up to really spur his playing time, it's a deep league fill in. If they get 7 righties coming up or something, you can feel a little bit better about it. But there's just not going to be a ton of PT. It's probably really AL only is the best spot for Trent Grisham. So I want it to be good. I want it to work. But until some real PT opens up, it's just a fast start. All right, let's finish with a veteran who started to get some juice late. And I got to, get my obligatory mention of my boy Greg. He was in on Jorge Polanco as somebody to scoop. I want to say he was a late signing, re-sign with Seattle, was he not? Okay. So he was a late re-sign, and that's probably part of why he wasn't getting drafted at that. Yeah, February 3rd. And so people were like, well, was he even going to play? But then once that hit, the price did not really surge for him, and he's been pretty dope. After a down year last year, his first subpar year in terms of OPS plus since the 2020, nothing season. You have to go back to 2017 before that, the last full season where Polanco wasn't very good. He's bounced back so far. It's very early, but 3 homers and a steal and a 198 OPS plus. Again, nobody's staying at that level. But is Jorge Polanco back? Can he stay healthy and be something here, Justin? Where are we at on Jorge Polanco? He's playing every day, looking pretty good.
No.
I hate when you do that to me.
I think he's going to play every day, and I think he can accumulate. I think that's totally fine. But the underlying numbers aren't really any better. They're actually worse than they were last year. 81% zone contact, 31% O swing. Swing strike rate is up. It's the highest of his career at 13.6. Yep. Yes, he's hitting the ball hard when he hits it, and things are finding holes. But it's a 364 BABIP that's going to come down. Mm-hmm. I mean, there isn't like a massive amount of power in this bat. He has very little to no speed for the most part. It's on a team whose offense is lackluster at best.
In the worst park in the universe?
Yeah, in the worst park in the universe, yeah. He will play. So in 15-team leagues, he makes sense as a guy that you're going to get production from. Just if you're thinking that this production is going to last the way it has.
Bro. Chapman, 2-run homer. Sorry to interrupt you. I figured you were about done there, but Chapman just hit a 2-run
I'm behind, so I can watch
Sorry.
it.
I spoiled you there, but there's going to be 5-3 here for you in a second. Big 2-run bomb for Matt Chapman off of Christopher Sanchez. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I do agree.
The fifth, I can get the dub.
Yeah, I want this dub too, but I figured you'd be happy about that.
Wait, is the 5th or the 6th? I can't see the.
Oh, it's the 6th.
Oh, it's the 6th.
Yeah,
get him out.
So we're good. We're good.
Pull him now.
Don't give up the lead. But yeah, with Polanco, you're 100% right. That 14% swinging strike rate matches his strikeout rate, which means the strikeout rate's a fraud. You cannot be matching like that and expect it to stay. 2% walk rate. He's never been some big walks guy except for 2022 when he spiked a 14% rate. He's a career 9%. He's down to 2%. So it's a weird line right now. Again, I am a sucker for playing time because in the deeper leagues, you're clinging to anybody who's playing every day. And I think that's why I like Polanco, but I'm not going to push back on anything you said there about Jorge Polanco. Joe, I'm going to imagine that you agree, but maybe you're going to surprise me and have some crazy positive things to say about Polanco, but where are you at?
I've been a Polanco guy for a long time, but the numbers are not great. And I have to put the caveat that my internet's been kind of cutting out. So I apologize if I'm repeating something Justin already said, but I think the swing rate going up as much as it has is the problem here. And I think part of it is due to that he's just had a bad year last year and he's kind of pressing a little bit. He's swinging 52% of the time for his career. Almost every year he's been in the 44% range. And with that, he's swinging more outside of the zone. His swinging strike rate, I think you guys mentioned, is the highest of his career. So while he is making more contact and he's making more hard contact as well with a 13% barrel, 43 hard hit, I just don't really expect it to last. There's not a lot of juice around him in the lineup, not really anyway. They're not a terrible lineup. Like Cal Raleigh's been doing good things. Julio is Julio, but they're not great. That ballpark sucks. I think in deeper leagues, you're fine to take a chance on him. But if you're talking about a standard size league without corner middle spots, I can't do it.
Yeah, I really can't push back on any of that. There's just not a ton to like here with Polanco. You need somebody who's going to play a bit, go for him. So there we go. bunch of hitters, a lot that we do like. So we weren't negative on everyone, but some of these guys definitely just running hot right now. But some of these guys you should be holding on to and be excited about where they're going, and pick them up in some of your shallower leagues where they are available. Joe, great talking with you. Glad you had a nice vacation. We'll get with you next week. And Justin, you and I will talk 2-start pitchers tomorrow morning. Take care, guys.
See you, boys.
Take it easy.